hi everyone. My name's Julia. Here I am. Here's a picture of me. I'm a senior finance consultant over here in the UK. So I'll give you a quick little introduction to who I am, and then we'll dive on into all of this. So getting started off, well, I am Australian, so I don't have a very strong accent anymore. I was born, educated, worked up in Australia. This is a picture of the Central Coast, particularly the Entrance Beach, which was my closest beach, was just 10 minutes down the road. Fantastic place to live. Following on from there, as part of growing up and getting educated and working and all that sort of stuff, I became qualified with CPA Australia after I finished university. So I went to university at the University of Newcastle, did a Bachelor of Management, moved on, decided and moved into accounting. So as I was doing all of that, both my degree and my qualifications, I started working in the industry. So I worked in tax, and then I worked for a very large corporation, and then I decided to move out of McDonald's, which is a large corporation, into smaller corporations so I could get more of an exposure to the whole behind the scenes. And that's when I started my Dynamics journey. So we started our Dynamics journey, and we went from essentially we were using QuickBooks. We migrated onto Exapta, or what I refer to as Exapta, and moved from there. Moved on to Exapta, and that's why we got upgraded and got to know the system and work from there. So that was quite cool. And then I moved to the UK, and I moved to the UK because at the time it was kind of like the rite of passage for Australian accountants. Like my boss, my boss's boss, all the senior people that I looked up to at work had done a couple of years, if not a year, in the UK or in the US, and the US didn't appeal to me. Sorry, guys. So I decided to go to the UK, and I did some more contracts there, and it was all going well. And someone said to me, "Oh, you should give consulting a try." And so that's when I found HSO, and HSO found me, and I became a financial consultant, a junior then with them, and I worked up through the scene, becoming a medium consultant, then a senior consultant, and also a team lead as well. And so that was my little journey into how I did consulting. It was originally just a trial basis, and I kind of liked it, so I stuck around. And it's been 7 years now in the UK with HSO, so we're going strong. And it was a couple of years ago I started getting involved with Power Platform, and that's when I got to really know about the Dynamics community and how much of a community you guys actually have. I started building apps for FinOps to really help out with different problems. So going over what we're going to cover today, on that basic introduction, I'm going to cover over where CE and FinOps lie, just in case any of you guys are new to this whole thing and don't know about it. And then I'm going to cover off the naming and the history about finance and operations, because it's quite interesting. Because sometimes I've noticed, particularly in Europe, is names and people call it different things, and we often have, but I meant this and they meant something completely different. Then I'm going to cover off very quickly what an ERP system is, because again, this is something that I found that whilst I didn't understand, that I knew what it was, but other people, everyone has different interpretations what an ERP system is. So I thought I would cover that off quickly, and then I would talk about all the stuff that we get in FinOps, just so you guys can understand how big of a software it is. And then I get to go in and do my favorite features. So hopefully I'll still have enough time to do a demo on each of the features, but I have some slides on the deck. So if we need to, we can always refer back to them. So, Dynamics, ERP, Microsoft Dynamics, whatever we want to call it. Here is a fantastic little chart that I found from Kayla Bloomfield on LinkedIn or on Twitter or something like that. Fantastic communities, by the way. And it's a lovely little logo of all the different softwares that we have within the Microsoft Dynamics applications process. So we have all the marketing, customer sales, customer service, sales, and field services are typically the CE sort of platforms, or what I classify as CE. I should also say that this is my interpretation of it all. This is not, this is my view of it all. So this is my personal view based on my experiences and what I've researched. And then on the other side, these are the typical finance and operations, with human resources kind of sitting in between the two. Finance, commerce, human resources, supply chain. There's also projects, and that's just, we're just going to ignore projects for the moment because it's a work in progress, that one. Okay, so you guys may have heard there's a lot of confusion around namings, and I'm going to give you a history of the name so you understand, and you can kind of tell where a consultant came into their journey with the Microsoft products based on what they call it. So I start off with Exapta, and I used to refer to it all the time as Exapta. That was the first thing. That was the first thing that I knew and loved, and that's what I still, sometimes I'll slip into that. Then Microsoft came into play and they brought it over and we became Microsoft Dynamics or just Dynamic Microsoft Exapta. Again, depending on who you're talking to, where you're from, the names will change. So it became 4.0. And that's really the big where we start to get a lot of consultants getting involved. They'll say, oh, I've been involved since version 4. And that was all working well. And then in 2009, we got AX. So that's when we became Microsoft AX 2009. And that was when I really got introduced. That's my personal journey with the Microsoft product started. And it was a fantastic tool, really fun to use, really easy to use, a fantastic little tool, really, really quite helpful, and a great step from us from going from QuickBooks onto AX. In 2012, we had a new version that came out, and that was called Microsoft Dynamics AX 2012. Very creatively named, I know. And that was a big change. There was a big shift between 2009 and 2012. They changed the whole data structure, and it became. I think it's when it really started to start pulling together, and the ERP elements started happening. And then R3. R3 is different to 2012. So they're so different that they did actually decide to do a whole range of new qualifications for it. And that's all well and good, and everything was fine. People would refer to it as Dynamics AX or AX, and everyone was happy. We didn't really care too much about the 2012 or the 2009. And then 2016 happened. And what happened in 2016 is we got cloud. And it was commonly referred to as AX7. I've even seen, I did a spun up a trial yesterday, and I saw somewhere, I think in licensing, it was still referred to as AX7, and that is one of the very first names. And Microsoft decided, no, we're going to become part of the D365 elements, and that's where we got D365. So all of a sudden, we became Microsoft Dynamics 365 for operations. And that was a bit of a mouthful, and they were like, okay, that's all good, but that wasn't enough for them. We then became Microsoft Dynamics 365 for operations and finance and operations. And that's where we get FinOps from. FinOps started hopping around there because saying to Microsoft Dynamics 365 finance and operations, it was just too much. It was too much to say. It's too hard, too long. So that's why we shortened it down to FinOps, or also where we started referring to it as D365. And so this is where I started calling it D365, because in my little head, where I was just a finance consultant, that was all it is. CE was still CE. We called it CRM. It wasn't connected to us. And of course, we're Microsoft Dynamics. That's just the thing. That's sarcasm there. Please understand that was a bit of sarcasm. Rightio. And then they went through this big thing where they decided to drop the 4. And I remember, at least in my company, there was a lot of teasing. You can't say 4 anymore. It's just Dynamics 365 finance and operations. And that was a little bit of fun as well. And I don't understand why there was such a big deal about this dropping of the 4. Okay, and then we had unified operations, and this is where we I think is the start of where everything starts coming together between CE and and customer engagements and unified operations we have at the same time. Now, depending on who you ask, unified operations still exists, but according to my sources at Microsoft, the official name is Finance, Supply Chain, and Commerce. That at the moment is still too long to say. If I'm being brutally honest with you, I'm not going to say Finance, Supply Chain, and Commerce. It's too long. So I'm still going to refer to it as FinOps or D365. This is important to note that, again, this is all different to Business Central. Business Central has had its own list of names, its own story. It's just as colorful as AX and maybe even more colorful, and it is a very different software to what we have in finance and operations. It has different functionality, and it's also one of these things that often I've had some of the junior consultants at my company get stuck because they've Googled it and they've typed in Dynamics 365 Finance and it's come up with instructions on how to do a functionality which doesn't exist in finance and operations. It's a Business Central functionality, so it's something to be aware of. And yeah, what I want to say is, if any of the hardcore CE guys in here, I apologize. We also call it D365. It's D365 to me, and sometimes I do refer to it as D365. I didn't realize that CE guys also called it D365 until I started doing D365 Saturdays and realizing there was no FinOps sessions at all. That's now changed. We're now a big happy family, or at least we're trying to be. So it's going well. ERP. ERP is the rainbow of softwares, and I love this graph. If you go into Google, you type in ERP systems. It's just so pretty. And the other thing about this is ERP systems do everything. Now, just because they do everything doesn't mean they do it well. but they will do everything. And it's a way to get a fully connected system that has touch points in every part of your business. So it's going to do your purchasing. There are certain CRM functionalities within finance and operations. There's different purchasing functionalities, and even field services functionalities within ERP. And it's a way of tying all of your functionalities together and coping with volumes. There are a lot of volumes. In terms of the ERP system, there's a lot of big players out there, and Microsoft Dynamics is not actually one of the big ones. SAP and Oracle are definitely the big ones. Dynamics is slowly creeping up. It was 5-6 years ago, it was SAP, and then it was Dynamics underneath there. So the big companies were SAP, the medium companies were Dynamics. But that's changing. We're getting bigger and bigger with Microsoft and its constant commitment to improvements. We're getting a lot. So this next slide, I'm going to talk to you about all the sort of stuff that we get within finance and operations, because there is an awful lot that we do get, and it's really quite cool. So I'm going to break it down into the finance, supply chain, and operations element. So looking at the finance element, I will just, get my slides back and go. There we go. We have a whole bunch of what we call modules, and modules don't necessarily mean like entities in CE or functionalities or even your individual elements. They're all linked together. We're this big, happy, intertwined family. What you may have set up in one module, you may not have it in a different module. Or you could have the exact same setup in the module. Kind of think of them more like roles, if you have to, within business. So, we have the accounts payable module. Within the accounts payable module, we can look at purchase orders, we can raise invoices, we can pay invoices. The really cool thing about Dynamics is it's fully got all of your tax regulation that can be configured. It's got statutory reporting that can be configured. Everything is configured, and it is legally compliant in a lot of countries. So it will keep up to date with all the financial regulations and all the tax and the company regulations that you need to. So we have this amazing accounts payable module. We have an accounts receivable, so that's sales module as well, which is different to sales. It's more around invoicing and payment of invoices. We have the ability to do budgets within FinOps. We have the ability to do bank reconciliation and bank forecasting within FinOps. So we can take all of these mass amount of transactions and we can commute them and transact with them and reconcile them, which is really quite cool. That's what I love in finance, is the ability to connect everything and have it all connected up and see the transactions. We have a cost accounting module, which helps with the cost accounting, analyzing stock and values. We have the ability to consolidate. A lot of finance and operations, we'll have 10, 20, 30, I've even seen 50 and plus. 50 plus legal entities. Now, legal entities, again, every company has their own version of what a legal entity is. We don't have an exact concept within CE. Business units is probably the closest one that we have. But we have this entire unit dedicated to consolidating all the different reports, to all the different information together. We have this whole module designed around collections and how we manage collections, how we do our chasing letters, which can, again, come out of the box if it's a bit of configuration, how we do our interest letters, how we remind people that we got promised for payment as well. We have a whole thing around expense management. I don't know if you guys have touched this, but there's a really cool expense management would come with some mobile phone app as well, to manage the expense management and logging of expenses, paying of expenses. And this is where, again, the modules all interconnect. If you want to log an expense, you need the expense management module set up. You need your accounts payable module set up. You need your general ledger module set up. You need your bank module set up. And you need your HR module set up, which, again, HR I've left for another day, because again, it's very much interconnected with CE as well as FinOps. So HR is a different module, which I haven't covered on here. We have fixed assets. We have the ability to account and do all the depreciation and requirements for fixed assets, and that's getting a huge improvement this coming year with the inclusion of lease accounting. We have general ledger, and that's fantastic for doing journals and trial balance and all the different reports that you could possibly need. We have project management, revenue recognition, tax management, time and attendance. So those are all just within the finance sort of module. Then we have supply chain, and supply chain have just as much. We have assets and cost management, inventory management, and these are all slightly different, particularly for businesses. Different businesses with different needs will use different modules. Or it's a very big, broad business. They may use, one legal entity may use asset management, another legal entity may use fleet management. So different options there. Master planning, procurement and sourcing, and product information management. So product information management to me is the creation of the product, whereas procurement and sourcing is the selling of the product. Production control is the making of the product. Sales and marketing, again, we have our own particular little sales module. Is it as feature rich and as amazing as sales within CE? Absolutely not. But it will do a basic job, and it's really good at calculations and computing values and high volumes. We have functionalities for service management, supply collab, transportation management, and warehouse management. So as you can see, we have a lot of modules and a lot of functionality within ERP. So of course, we can't be the best in any individual module, but we can definitely be up there, and there's a lot of strengths that we have. Within commerce, commerce is treated a little bit differently. It's not so much individual modules, it's more functionality. So I see commerce is more kind of more aligned with like the CE in that we have omni-channel functionality, e-commerce functionality, retail functionality, call center functionality. The call center functionality in this is nowhere near as good as CE, but it's basic. It will record the transactions. We've got POS functionality, order management helps, and customer management. So as you can see, what FinOps include, without including payroll and HR and the people-related modules and the organization and setup-related modules, there's a lot there. And that's often why you get FinOps consultants that specialize. So for myself, I specialize in just the financial modules, whereas I have co-workers that focus just on supply chain. Or if they focus just on supply chain, maybe they're focusing on manufacturing elements of supply chain, or maybe they're focusing on rental elements of supply chain. So you have different businesses or retail elements of supply chain. So you have different consultants and they specialize in different elements because it is such a big software and you can't know everything. Because every module does require setting up and configuration, which is very different to development. We can develop. There is the ability to develop within finance and operations, but developing, again, different to configuration. Configuration is something that you don't need to know code for. You just need to know how the system works, whereas the developing, you do need to know code. So we all are all connected, and I think this is where Microsoft has really been getting strengths is in the recently we are starting to connect. So I don't know what they're going to call it. It's called something Lakehouse, Project Lakehouse, or the new name for CDS after the Dataflex debacle. But with what they've been doing recently and the different connecting tools that we have, it's slowly becoming one because we do have a very separate database where we store all of our transactional stuff in finance and operations. It is different to our CE sort of one. And we have options such as Data Integrator, which sends information over in batches, so as a group, at set times. We have Dual Write, which is instantaneously, so you do something in CE, it happens in finance and reverse. And recently we have virtual entities. So again, we do something in CE, you can embed these tables. I like to view it as a ghost because you can see it, but you can't interact with it. And you can see FinOps data, but you can't interact with it. So we've got some really cool options here. Okay, so now we get to move on to the stuff that I love, and we get to do a little bit more of a demo, which is so much more interesting than what I've just been talking about. Okay, one thing I do need to mention is the idea of no limits. Finance and operation projects are big. The smallest project I ever saw was FinOps, and that was you are having this system. You are not changing it. This is what you get. It's pre-configured. There you go. Typically, projects last around a year. For the average size project, some of them last longer. Some of them can take up to 4 or 5 years for implementation. We always recommend, at least my company, for people to do it in small bites. So rather than trying to eat the whole ERP cake, have a small bite and then digest that, then move on to the next bite of cake. And so, the really cool thing is we don't have transaction limits. We are designed for hundreds and thousands of transactions. I did a VAT reconciliation a couple of weeks ago where I had over 1 million transactions in the quarter that needed to be reconciled, and the system can cope with that. Hundreds of thousands of invoices, 35,000 invoices, 40,000, 100,000 invoices a month, a week. We can cope with that, and Microsoft can give you the resources to cope with that. So it's really cool. And how we do that is really through batch processing. So the calculations happen behind the scenes so that the user interaction at the front isn't so bad. And again, it's designed to really help with these really complicated business processes. If you think about if you want to build a house, And we do have clients that use their system to help build houses because they're a housing manufacturer. There are so many elements that are involved in building the houses, so many bill of materials, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not a simple process, despite it just being almost being wood and nails. So it does cope with that sort of information. Okay, so let's dive in. Okay. Righty. Oh, so the very first thing, I have two environments, and here we are. Nope, this is not the right one. I want to start with this one. Right here. I have two different environments that I'm switching between, and the reason that I'm switching between them is one is my internal training environment, which has different functionality to my company demo environment. So here it is, the company demo environment. This is a typical Contoso database, and this is a really cool thing that we have. This is what you get greeted with. You have a customizable banner, and we have a whole bunch of workspaces, which is what is one that I wanted to show off. Now I have all the workspaces, because I'm system admin, but typically speaking, you'd only have 2 or 3. So I'm going to show off the credit and collections workspace because it's one of the better workspaces in my opinion, but they all follow the same sort of format. We have these things called tiles, and it's designed to be kind of like I come into this workspace at the beginning of my day and I can see at one picture what I need to do. So I can see that I have 11 open activities, I have 6 cases, I have 1 sales order that's on hold, and I have some collection orders that I need to post. Some that I need to print. So, I've got these really quick tiles and I can click on any one of these tiles and be taken straight to where I need to do that functionality, which is really quite fun. I like that part. I love tiles. And the cool thing is you can add tiles. You can add tiles. You can customize your tiles. You can put counters on them. You can put filters on them. They're a lot of fun to play around with. These BI reports, you can embed BI tiles, but you do need a pro license. And for some reason, I find that people, despite spending hundreds of dollars on a license, means they don't want to spend an extra $10 on a BI license. It's just a bit weird, but we'll move on from there. Now, list, LISTS, so I apologize for how I pronounce it, are awesome. You can have, you can customize your list, you can create new lists. But with the ones that come out of the box, they have really quick, easy transactions. So here I can see all the customers that are currently overdue. I can have a look at their credit rating. I can look at the age balances functionality, just by clicking between the two. And from within here, I can then start to do some really quick stuff. So I can click on this one, click email, done, happy days, all easy and done within the same spot. Also, a lot of the workspaces have BI. So this is BI that you get because you have a FinOps license, not a Pro BI license or a Power BI license. It's embedded into the system. And this also leads me on to the second thing that I love about Dynamics is how everything is connected. So here I have all of my invoices, for example, and I can click, and similar to what you can do within Power BI, is you can click and you can filter, and you can then highlight your reports. And from here, you can then keep on drilling down and down. And you can drill into the base level transactions. Not all reports do that, and not all click-on-downs want to do that, but some of them do. And I'm just trying to get it to work. There we go. Here we are. We've drilled down to the actual page that shows me my collections. If you have the right filters on. And I've been playing around with my filters, which is why nothing came up there. So I love the fact that it's connected, and you can go from one to the other. And that's really connected. Oh, it times you out. I've been trying to refresh it as I've been going along. That is really apparent when you start looking at the finance modules. So you start, I'm a typical accountant. I love the trial balance. I love my transactions. I love everything in Excel if I could in a flat transaction, but that's just not the way it works. So here we have is a wonderful little trial balance, and trial balances are fantastic. They roll up transactions. They show you your values as per a period that you're reporting on. And I'm going to go down to my sales. This is just showing you all the connectivity of it. So I'm going into my sales, going into my closing balance, and this will show me all the transactions that make up here. Now from within here, I can have a look at the audit trail, which shows me who posted it and when, or I can have a look at the original documents. So from within here, I get the actual invoice, and I can always reprint it, or I can have a look at the details, and I can also do the same with the sales order that's related to that invoice. Now from there, from within the sales order, I can drill to the customer. And from the customer, maybe I can have a look at different reporting options. What are they buying more regularly? What are their trend? How quickly do they pay? So there's a whole bunch of functionality that all you can do is drill back. And the really cool thing is you start off from the finalized values and you're drilling back, which I just think is awesome. Okay, we've done workspaces, everything is connected. Task recorder. All right, let me hop in and show you what Task Recorder is. Task Recorder is just fantastic for training people and for using people, but it does require work. So you have to do a fair bit of setup. So I'm popped into my one of our internal training environments, and we use this for training up our junior consultants or any consultant that just doesn't know what they want to do. Similar look, but I put a different picture in. This picture here is a picture view from the Central Coast, and that's Lion Island over there, if you're curious. So here we go. We'll just open this on up, open up Task Recorder, and from here we can play. And we can also connect to our centralized database. So I'm currently connecting to LCS, and LCS essentially it's the background storage of everything FinOps. It's what drives a project. And from within here, I can see all the different recordings that we have, and we've broken them into module. And I'll go into, we'll say purchasing, and I'll go into purchase order and purchase order again. And I can drill down and I can click on the requirement that I am. And I'm doing all of this from within the FinOps thing. So I don't have to be going into different places. I don't have to find the user guide on how to do it. And here we have all the steps, which is nice enough as it is. But we can also start the task guide and you'll get the steps that follow along with you. So I can go into procurement and sourcing. Procurement and sourcing, there it is. I can go into purchase orders or purchase orders. And this is the cool part that I really love about it is like, look, it's wiggling, it's thinking, it's thinking. It's thinking, come on, sweetheart. There we go. And it's going to say, this is where I need to click next. So it's showing me where I need to click. And if you wanted to, you could put in comments about why do you have to click here? Or, you know, if you say select your back group, for example, your VAT code, if you guys want to think of it that way, you can say, okay, well, this is why you need to click the VAT code, and this is the scenarios you need to think about. So you can continue on going that way. And I just think that's really cool, that it wiggles about and it shows you where to click. Another really cool thing if you do task recorders is they are available within help. So if I've kind of guessed that I need to create a purchase order and I've kind of guessed that I've come to this screen and I have no idea what to do next, I can click on help and go to support. And eventually, if you have a better interconnection than what I do, it's going to show you up your different support areas for this module. And it's not doing it now. Let's just close down. Let's try that one more time. Yep, nope. Okay, it's upset at the moment. Sorry, guys. You'd be able to click on like lifecycle services, and it would show you all the task recorders associated to this. All right, so this next one is very much designed at accountants. So I do apologize if any of you guys aren't interested in financials. This part is like the holy grail for accountants. It's the ability to create board side of month-end reporting within Dynamics. So you can create these really amazing reports and you can control what you want your columns to be and what you want your rows to be. And you can control how many legal entities or how you want it to be consolidated as well. And from there, you can create like these default packs. And then anyone who has access can press on generate and view them. And here we go. Here's one of the default standard ones that come out of the box. I've just run it. I've not customized it. But as I said, we can control. Maybe you don't want it to be month, 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 month. Maybe you want it to be quarter, year to date, budget. You can control all the columns and you can control all the up and downs. So you can create these really awesome reports. And from here, this is a moment showing us in US dollars because I'm in a US company. But if I wanted, I could change the currency and see the impact of different currencies. And it exports into Excel so nicely. I know we're not supposed to be in Excel, but it just does. And you know, you're never going to get an accountant away from Excel. You're just never going to. It's not going to happen. But if you do use it within the system, again, same way as we had before, everything being connected, you can drill down. So I can click on it and see the breakdown between the different analysis codes that we have. I can drill down again, and I can open up the account transactions as well. And that's going to take me to the previous view that I have. And from within here, I can again have a look at the original documents. I can drill back to the order. I can drill into the customer. I can look at the sales order. I just love how it's all connected. It's really a lot. It's a lot of fun. Righty, we're almost finished. Excel, how am I going on time? Running slowly out of time. I do apologize for that. Okay, quickly open Excel. I'm not going to show you these functionalities because I have run out of time. So the ability to open up in Excel, everything is connected. You can create these custom templates that, you know, everyone can use as a super user. You can then apply it to different legal entities. And you can open in Excel and you can transact in Excel. And you can create your journals, upload them through Excel. One of the really strong things that we have with it being Microsoft is the connection and relation that we have with Excel. Everywhere you see, if there's a grid view, same as CE, you can download that into Excel. Now, because some of these are, you can't change posted transactions, you may only be able to download it. But if it's unposted, often you'll be able to open it up as well. And then we have the wonderful little Dynamics Connector app in Excel. So if you don't want to open up and go into Dynamics at all, you can just connect to it straight from Excel and transact that way. Okay, so two last things is, of course, it wouldn't be me without using Power Platform. So, there is so much that we can do within Power Platform, so much connectivity within Power Platform. We can embed apps. So just like you can do within CE, you can embed a Canvas app into a form, but we can also embed Canvas apps to a view, essentially. Or it's not really a view, but it's kind of like a view for CE purposes. You can embed a Canvas app into a view so it pops up so that you can interact with that data within the view. It'll pop up and show you the related data if you need to. You can also embed it into workspaces or embed it into forms, as I said. Embedding it into workspaces is really nice because, again, it helps with this one-stop shop that we have within Dynamics. So people don't have to be going out into different systems or even into different browsers. We can incorporate that all within Power Apps and feed that information directly into finance and operations. The final thing that I love about it is how we can always the improvements. As I said, every month we are getting new improvements. They announce the improvements twice a year, same as you guys within the Power Platform and within CE. The new improvements come out. And then we get upgrades. But just because you get an upgrade doesn't mean you get that functionality. Because often finance and operations is developed, turning on functionality, people are afraid, even though it shouldn't break the process, people are afraid that it will. And that's just a legacy problem, I suppose. So that's why we can turn functionality on or off. So, for example, we have a functionality here called posting invoices of zero amount. Maybe you don't want your company to be able to do that. You're like, hell no, not going to happen. You don't have to enable that feature. You can say, yep, that feature will permanently be disabled. We're never going to allow that. So you can pick and choose how you want your system to behave, which I just think is really cool. And I just love how we're always getting new improvements. The dynamics that we have today is not the dynamics we had before. It's just getting more and more awesome. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you. I know I've gone over time. I'm sorry about that. If you guys want to reach out, you're more than welcome to. It's my personal email address. I also have a blog that I am trying to update a bit more. And of course, there's LinkedIn and Twitter. And if you guys are able to, at the end of today's presentation, if you could fill in a survey, let the guys know what you liked, what you didn't like about today, what you want to see next time. It always helps with these events.